5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
This is the Culture Clash.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Culture Clash here on the Fandom Podcast Network. We got a huge episode for you tonight as we can continue with our coverage of Star Wars Andor Season 2. These are some major episodes that we're going to be talking about. We got a few other things in fandom we're going to be talking about, but I'm going to tell everybody right now, our focus is going to mainly be on these 3 episodes of Andor. They have had a big impact online and on Star Wars, and I'm not even going to play around. I'm going to bring in, of course, my co-host and the co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network, the one and only Mr. Kevin Reitzel.
Andor is killing it right now. Can't wait to dive deep, man. It's woof.
It is definitely, yeah. We got a lot to say about it. So just stick around. But just a reminder, you are watching Culture Clash live here on the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel, and of course, you can also find all of our great shows via podcast through all the major podcast catchers out there, or you can scan this nice little QR code right here, which takes you to our podcast homepage at fpnet.podbean.com, where you can find all the audio versions of all of our episodes. And if you're watching on YouTube, give us a subscribe, give us a like, share us out, tell your friends. We appreciate that. Now, Kevin, before we get started with this week's episode, every once in a while we have friends of the network or people we know we want to give a little shout out to for their career
totally.
out there. And I have a young friend that is just kind of starting her way. She is a very talented young artist, and she has recently started working in the tattoo field. And I want to give her a shout out because, Kevin, I showed you this and you were very impressed. This is some of her work. And Kevin, the one that grabbed your attention was the Scott Pilgrim tattoo.
What's her name? Give her a shout out.
Her name is Brooke, and again, a very talented young lady. You see the Scott Pilgrim she did, of course, John Lennon, Billie Eilish, and then I'm going to go on further. She does all kinds of things. There's a great Detroit Tigers tattoo she did, some of her other kind of original work as well, Kevin, but a very talented young lady. I wanted to give her a shout out. She is down here locally to me in the Florida area, specifically Tampa. If you're looking for a good young tattoo artist or somebody to do some ink for you, she is definitely the place to go. You can find all of her information and see more of her work on Instagram. Just follow her at B Yerger Inc. on Instagram. Just very talented, Kevin. And like I said, I know you got my attention when I did the Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, I just want to spell that out. It's at BYERGERINK. I'm excited for her. Brooke, you said is her name, right?
Yes, correct.
What's interesting is when you think about how good tattoo artists are, you have to realize that art came from somewhere first, and then for them to turn it into tattoos is awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely a very special skill, and she is very good at it. And I just wanted to give her a little shout out here. She's, like I said, she's getting started. So again, if you're in the Tampa area or anywhere in Florida, really looking for somebody to do some ink for you, give it a shout out one last time. B Yerger Inc. on Instagram. You can find all the information about her shop there and see some of her other work too. So definitely.
Cool. I just want to give a shout out to someone in the chat real quick here. Martin is checking in here. And for those of you that don't know, Martin also is one of my online friends of the RFR family, not the Rebel Force Radio, but the RFR for Raiders Fan Radio with our buddy Murph, who hosts that, of course, with his co-hosts there, Michelle and Jeff. And Martin is one of the many people like myself that check into the chat and donate money, all that kind of stuff. And the chat's great there with the Raiders Fan Radio. And I made a comment that, hey, I want to say hi to everyone, but I got to go because I got my own podcast to do. And he checked in. So Martin says, I've seen the first 3 episodes of Andor Season 1 available on YouTube currently and absolutely love them. I don't have streaming services, so I'll hold out for a copy of the Blu-ray. Well, hopefully you can get it another way, but thanks for checking in, Martin. Appreciate you.
Well, and speaking of Andor, that is what we are here to talk about tonight. And Kevin, because these episodes were so powerful and so important, I think, we're kind of doing a little bit different on Culture Clash. We're really not going to get into a Let's News segment. We have a little bit of different buy it, stream it, or see it this week because we really want to put our time in on Andor here, guys. So I say we just get into it because we are here to talk Andor season 2. And guys, we've seen the schedule here. We got 3 more episodes left. Interesting run times this week, Kevin. Obviously, a couple right around the 45-minute mark, and then another one almost an hour, and then the last 3 are still going to be around that 45-minute mark or so.
Yeah, definitely. And let's get into it. We don't have to mention what's coming up on the network. We did that last week. So
I just do want to give a shout out to our good buddies over at What a Piece of Junk.
Oh, of course. Yes, definitely.
Covering everything Andor as well. And they are doing a phenomenal job in their own right. Of course, What a Piece of Junk is our main Star Wars podcast here on the network. Join Scott, Derek, and Nathan as they cover everything in their version, in their
deep dive.
The deep dive. Kevin, I'm just going to remind people too, we have had our episodes out covering the first 6 episodes of Andor as well. You can go find those on the YouTube channel or on any of your podcast catchers. I'm just going to run through some things just real quick because we got some good stuff out there I don't want to give out. Time Warp, we're covering 1990. We're up through April now. We are having a blast covering it. A lot of good things. May is coming soon. We're going to be recording that soon with the Queen of Movie Food. We're going to have a great time with that. Kevin, we did that great 10-episode limited series on the Orville. You did a phenomenal job with that. We had some great people involved with that, with some character profiles. Our special Be Kind Rewind versions of Couch Potato Theater currently out, Green Lantern and John Carter. The next one up on the docket that we're going to be rewinding is the A-Team from 2010. And for you regular Couch Potato Theaters fans out there, we just recently put out Sahara from 2005. Coming very soon, our coverage and our special edition Canon Films retrospective with a double feature of American Ninja 1 and Ninja 2 to kick things off. We'll be recording that very soon. We've been hyping that for a while, just trying to get scheduling going there. And coming up to a great 80s classic, Just One of the Guys. We'll be recording that here shortly. And just a reminder too, for all you Doctor Who fans out there, the new season is running. Join our friend Dan Hadley in covering all things on Type 40 because he covers everything Doctor Who, and they have a great time doing that. And finally, too, Thunderbolts, the latest MCU film that's out there. We had a great spoiler reaction show with a lot of our own crew of Thunderbolts or New Avengers, whichever you want to call them. But go check that out, our True Believers podcast. But guys, we are deep diving now into Andor. We have just spoilers everywhere. So guys, spoiler alert. We're going deep into Andor, guys. We're going to have a lot of fun here.
Martin says, by the way, this all looks very much like my thing. I'll be back. Awesome, dude.
We always like it, Martin. Appreciate it. We will be covering the latest 3 episodes of Andor tonight. Episode 7, Messenger. Episode 8, Who Are You? And Episode 9, Welcome to the Rebellion. I feel like there should be some Guns N' Roses with that, Kevin.
I know, right?
Andor season 2 has been phenomenal. We have had an amazing time with it. Again, just a reminder, we are a spoiler reaction show here from this point forward. We are going to be talking spoilers in Andor. We just want to give everybody as much notice as we can because I know some people don't get to watch it right away. But if you have not watched it, go watch it, come back, watch the show, listen to the podcast, and join us. Last chance, guys. Last chance. Okay, with that, let's talk some Andor. Mr. Reitzel, would you be so kind to go into the great book of Star Wars history and give us the episode synopsis for the first episode of this batch of Andor episodes, Messenger?
All right, episode 7, Messenger. Here we go. 1 year later, the rebels have begun coordinating military operations on Yavin 4. Oh yes, that Yavin 4, where Cassian and Bix now live. Willman tells them that Dedra is on Gorman, whose rebel activities have been portrayed by state-sponsored media as terrorist campaigns instigated by outside agitators, and encourages Cassian to help assassinate her. Despite his concerns over his mission being one from Luthen, Cassian agrees. Bix is told by a force healer that Cassian will be vital to the rebellion. On Gorman, Dedra finds her position temporarily supplanted by Captain Kaido, sent by Partagaz to oversee the Imperial subjugation of the planet. While Cyril begins to doubt Dedra's explanation of the outside agitators given his interactions with the rebels, Cassian, who's on a mission to assassinate Dedra and Willman, who is here to aid the Gormans travel to Gorman, which has been placed under curfew following the attacks from the rebels. And as we know from the picture you have up here, Kyle, rebellions are built on hope.
Okay, Kevin. Now, in the past episodes of Culture Clash, we've been waiting, giving all of our thoughts after we cover all the episodes. But we're going to do it just a little bit differently here because these episodes were so jam-packed and just had so much in them. We're at least going to give a little bit of thought here, and then we'll kind of talk about the arc in whole when we're done giving the synopsis.
Of course.
But Kevin, just give me a few quick thoughts on this first episode of Messenger.
Loved seeing Yavin as a working base now. It got teased when in the previous block, as Gilroy calls it, not arc, of when he was escaping those very unorganized rebels that were stranded there. So obviously it's like, you know, when they were saying, hey, we need a place to put up camp and hide. Where should we go? You know, and he's like, I got a place. Let's do Yavin. It was great to see it. It was giving me New Hope vibes. I also saw a couple of Rebel Fleet Troopers, which I have a costume for the Rebel Legion costume group that I do for Star Wars. So I was getting that. And then we got Draven back in there as one of the commanders from Rogue One. We'll touch on that later. The whole thing with stuff starting to get tense there on Gorman was great to see, especially with Captain Kaido showing up. The Imperial officer in the cool black cape with the scar on his face, you know, and him like not really being impressed with all the new recruits that were coming up. And seeing what happened with Cyril and the underground, I forget the lady who was part of the underground there, not happy with him and slapping him and leaving him in that dark alley. It was a good first episode with tensions to start. What about you, dude? What do you think?
I'm with you as far as seeing everything on Yavin, because that's the one thing, even with Rogue One and Star Wars and stuff, you really never got a feel for what exactly was all on Yavin for. And you, at least in the movies or TV. And now you are, and you're seeing this become not only just a planet for rebellion, but a planet for refugees as well. Yeah. And I think that was very intriguing to see it, and made me see a couple things I hadn't really thought about yet with Yavin 4. Just the whole feeling of the episode. Andor, especially with what he was going through, meeting the Force healer, the episode being titled Messenger, her telling him about that has a lot of different meanings.
Did that surprise you to actually get some Force discussion and someone who has some Force abilities? Because what this reminded me of, do you remember that in the expanded universe, the EU now or whatever it is, there was that Jedi. It was a Jedi, not really a Jedi fighter, but definitely with Force abilities. That was a Mon Cal. It was a female called Silgal. Do you remember her at all?
Not particularly off the top of my head. It's been a while, though.
Her thing was Force healing, you know, and I was trying to think back of all the Force healing we've seen. And the first one I think we saw was in Rise of Skywalker with sorry, what's her name? Rey. Yeah. And then we saw Baby Yoda doing some stuff, you know, in Mandalorian and stuff. I thought that was kind of cool that they actually brought in a little bit of Force stuff. What do you think?
What I like about it, though, was they never said the word Force.
No, they didn't. But Bix is feeling something in this first episode. She's like, yeah, but I felt something.
Well, and it makes you think because she talks about the vision she's had throughout the series and stuff like that. Maybe Bix is a little Force attuned as well, and
Force sensitive is what they call it. Yeah, yeah.
I thought that was very interesting. A lot of setup here. I love the fact that we got where Cassian heard the line, "Rebellions start with hope," and are built on hope. And I think that was great. And I love how this episode and these 3 episodes really starts getting even more ties into Rogue One.
That ties back to the Jyn Erso famous quote that she said that never actually made it into the movie, but we saw it on the trailers. Yeah,
that one, and of course, well, this is a rebellion, so when are we going to rebel?
Yeah,
let's rebel. So
exactly.
You know.
All right, Kyle, what do you got for us for the second episode?
Oh, I got a lot of stuff for the second episode. By the way, Kevin, who are you?
That's right, episode 8.
Yeah. So Kaido leads the Gorman people to protest in the square before instigating a false flag operation as justification for massacring the protesters, in turn justifying the destruction of Gorman. A horrified Cyril realizes his role in enabling this and forces Deidre to tell him the truth. The protest quickly turns violent, which sparks the beginning of the Gorman massacre. Amidst the chaos, Cassian prepares to assassinate Deidre, but Cyril runs into Cassian and attempts to kill him. He is shaken when Cassian doesn't recognize him, enabling the Gorman resistance leader to kill him. The resistance manages to incapacitate a KX security droid with a tank. Cassian brings it back with him while Wilmon stays to find and aid his Gorman girlfriend, Drenna. Kevin, I'm just going to say this because I was watching this episode with my roommate, and he brought it up, and I was thinking it too. First words out of his mouth, "Oh, I see some Tiananmen Square things about to be happening." And yeah, this was powerful. This was heavy, and to have what a performance by Cyril in this, in the actor who plays Cyril. I just got to say that he was phenomenal in this episode, confronting Deidre. That whole scene was just incredible. And then everything with Cassian to the "who are you" thing and his reaction to that. And of course, leading to Cyril's death in this episode, which I did call on the pre-show of Star Wars Stuff podcast.
Kyle, I want you to stop right now and pat yourself on the back.
Because everybody else was like shaking their head at me on that one. So.
I thought Bix was going to go. I was wrong about that. So yeah.
But just what an insanely heavy and powerful episode. And the great thing about this episode, Kevin, that I really liked was you knew what was coming. You could see it coming, but they never made you feel like, oh, it's predictable. You were still you were on the edge of your seat the whole episode.
And K2S droid, busted K2S droid being taken away. So it's interesting. What I really like about the writing of this series and the way they set up the Gorman massacre was a perfect example of how they've done this stuff, unfortunately, in real life wartime, where they will, whoever's in power will paint the narrative and even set people up to take them down. And that was the Gorman resistance here, the underground people, which had the very French resistance feel to them. They were basically walked right into this. You had Cyril there spying on them as they're stealing guns, and they're letting them steal the guns so they can, have this protest and then be forcibly taken down because, oh no, all this other stuff that's blowing up around them, and then they're also like feeding false information to the media, and just so they can get these damn Gormans off this planet, either dead and buried or captured, so they can mine this planet. And that whole scene with Dedra and Cyril like starting to choke her, man, that was intense.
I want to say this too, and real quick, is one of the most powerful scenes in this episode is at the end when Dedra is now realizing the order she gave and realizing the consequences and the humanity of it all.
Okay, well, now there's been some debate on that where she's feeling that, what you're mentioning, but there's also a possibility that she finds out, because we don't know the exact time frame, that maybe she finds out also that Cyril got killed in the fight. There's been some talk about that, and I could see like she knows she's like now like she's in this because the pressure is on her now because it's working, but she's starting to see like the war side of this big time. Obviously, she lost someone that she loves. Does she know that at the time that you see that scene? Or does she love him? I don't know. But anyway.
I don't know if she necessarily knows it, but she probably feels it. She probably realizes it per se. And that's part of her reaction. And I think that's going to be one of the interesting things to watch is what's going to happen with her character in the final arc of Andor.
Yeah.
So, but Mr. Reitzel, let's move on to our final episode of these three. And that is episode 9.
Episode 9, Welcome to the Rebellion.
And before you read this, I just want to say this going in, because I'm going to talk about this later too. This episode of Andor might go down as one of the most important things to happen in Star Wars history.
That's a big take you got there, Kyle. I could have said
that. We'll come to that later,
okay.
But I'm giving a little tease.
All right, I like that. All right. Episode 9, Welcome to the Rebellion. In the aftermath of the Gorman massacre, the Empire frames the incident as an insurrection, Mon Mothma decides it's time to openly condemn the Emperor and flee to Yavin 4. Bail Organa chooses to stay behind and support her escape. Luthen learns from Jung that Organa's team is compromised and assigns Cassian to help her escape, clashing with Mon over the depth of his subterfuge within the rebellion and his choice to have Kolma killed. With Organa's help, Mon takes the floor of the Senate to condemn Palpatine and the Empire's manipulation of the truth. And Cassian manages to extract her from the Senate. Mon Mothma stays behind to publicly position herself with Yavin's rebels while Cassian accompanies Drina and an injured Wilman back to Yavin. Disturbed, Cassian decides to leave the rebellion and start a new life with Bix, but she leaves in the night, telling Cassian that he must stay with Rebellion to help them win. The rebel technicians manage to reprogram the KX droid to serve them.
Just so much in this episode, Kevin. I mean,
can I just start real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I need to have Mon Mothma's hover car. That thing is freaking gorgeous. If they release that as a toy, I am buying it. And rest in peace, her driver, who was a freaking spy. And, I love how Cassian's just like, yeah, you're dead. I'm not taking any chances, and kills him. Oh my God. I'm still thinking. Go ahead, Kyle.
As intense as episode 8 was, I think this episode was 10 times more, especially because drama. Even though we know what's coming, to see the situation Cassian has to get Mon out of and how it's going and how they almost get caught more than once.
Just to set things up, you have the ISB monitoring everything and then trying to shut down her speech, which doesn't happen in time. And then when she does, they're all like trying to find her basically. And he uses his wills and his street smarts to get her the F out of there.
Yeah. And it's powerful. It's amazing. I'm going to talk Genevieve O'Reilly a little bit more, but she deserves an Emmy for just this episode.
Oh, God. It's interesting too, because she's seeing, Cassian just like, shoot this guy and do this. And she's like horrified because she's starting to see it all up front, first, just like Dedra was watching the battle unfold in front of her. She's seeing that now, other than just hearing stuff and seeing reports and videos. She's in the middle of it right now.
Yeah, very much so. And just so many emotionally powerful moments in this from start to finish. I mean, not only with Mon, I mean, obviously what happens with Cassian and Bix at the end of the episode. And
yeah, I was wondering where Bix was going at that. And I'm getting the feeling that, I'm not saying that she wants to go be a Jedi, but there's this calling that she's kind of answering to, is the feeling I was getting from when she was leaving. And she needs to do this on her own, I guess. And I also kind of feel like she knows how important Cassian is to the rebellion. And Cassian wants to leave. I mean, there's that scene with Draven saying, Commander Draven, when he's saying, you can't just go every time you want. This is basically a secret rebel base, in so many words. He says, well, if I have to ask, then I have to leave, and, between the Jedi healer saying how, not in so many words, but meant, saying pretty much how important he is. She knows this. So she's like, I got to go.
Yeah. And Kevin, I have one question. I'm going to ask it now. And in regards Bix, because so many people like Bix, and we know Cassian's fate. Could this be the last time we see Bix in Andor?
It's funny you say that. I was pondering that for the final 3 episodes that we're going to get, the block, as they say. And I feel because of the character she is, we have to get some update in the final 3 episodes, because we know this ends up, basically up to the doorstep of Rogue One. Maybe we see him on the rings of whatever when he meets that informant, and then he's forced to shoot him because he's got a bad leg or whatever it is. I don't know. We have to see some type of like, not resolution, but like direction of where she's going? Because it's very vague at the end of this episode. What do you think?
Okay, so let me rephrase the question then a little bit. Is this the last time we see Bix and Cassian together?
My guess would be no, only because I feel almost like Bix has to die to make Cassian committed to and die from an Imperial way for him to really stay committed to the rebellion now that he's working on heartbreak and anger in addition to what's happened to him as a kid. That's my speculation. What do you think?
I think that's a very distinct possibility, but maybe even Bix leaving is enough to push him that way, and knowing he lost her because of everything that's going on. I don't know, and I think it's one of the more intriguing questions for the last 3 episodes of Andor. It might be the most, truthfully.
I just find it hard for them to write her off so quickly before they have 3 final episodes. So yeah.
It'll be interesting. But Kevin, we've given the plot synopsis. We gave a little bit of our thoughts on each episode, but putting them all together, how are you feeling after you watch these episodes?
Some fantastic storytelling for Star Wars. Some of the best I've ever seen. And really setting the political climate. And kind of makes me look at A New Hope differently now, knowing what they're building us into, and I thought that Benjamin Bratt was great, as the new Bail Organa. He looked great too, but yeah, just man, it's just the costume, it's everything. The details are so amazing, Kyle.
Yeah, the details from this show from season 1 to now have been phenomenal.
Yeah,
but these episodes, and I kind of had this feeling, and I know we talked a bit about it. I'm getting shout out to David Lozano and the Star Wars Stuff podcast. Thank you for letting us be a part of your pre and post shows on so far this season.
Yeah, check out Star Wars Stuff podcast, man. That guy's killing it.
But I really felt like these were the episodes that were going to elevate season 2 of Andor, and not only did it elevate it, it skyrocketed this season. And I can easily say now this season of Andor is the best thing that's ever been on Disney Plus. I believe that as far as Star Wars goes.
Even better than The Mandalorian season 1 and 2?
I think so. Yeah. I think especially the importance of the Andor, because I think what Andor has done is given us a totally different kind of Star Wars that we needed.
No, you're right. You're right about that. And it's given us serious, in your serious side of it as well. But I wouldn't go as far as that personally, because those first two seasons of
they're phenomenal.
Were
phenomenal. They're phenomenal. And I'm sure
there's hold on, let me finish. There's something that I get out of those that I don't get out of this, but then there's stuff that I get out of Andor that I don't get out of those. Yeah. So it's kind of hard for me until I see this end. It's hard for me to make that judgment yet, but I see why you're saying that, because damn, it's good.
Yeah. I mean, and just to have Star Wars is powerful, and we knew what was going to happen in season 2 of Andor. We knew some of the things that were going to happen. Obviously, we still have 3 episodes left, but this show has become so important. I'm going to talk about it a little later, so I'm going to kind of save my thoughts there on it, Kevin. But I just came out of these episodes just blown away by what has been created.
Yeah,
now
visually stunning too. Jeez.
Yeah. But guys, we've got a few other things here to talk about with Andor as well, including a little Star Wars trivia. Mr. Reitzel, can you help me out and pull up some holocrons for me, and let's talk a little Star Wars trivia for Andor?
You got it. First bit of trivia we have here is actor Alistair Petrie reprises his role as Rebel Alliance General Davitz Draven from Rogue One, A Star Wars Story 2016. Love to see familiar faces. Love the connective tissue. Also, always love a man by the name of Draven.
Yeah, there we go.
Shout out to Crow. Shout out to Crow.
Yeah, exactly. And Kevin, you picked up on this, so I want you to give this piece of trivia as well.
Yeah, the first blaster that Vel picks up to examine on Yavin 4 is the same blaster used by Jyn Erso in Rogue One, A Star Wars Story 2016. I always loved her blaster. I thought it was sleek, pretty cool. I almost bought a toy version of it one at Target, but I didn't. But I just thought it was so cool looking. And if you're looking at the video, you'll see a reference to it here.
And Kevin, you always talk about the costuming in the work. I just got to give a shout out. About 350 extras were dressed by Michael Wilkinson's costume department for the Gorman massacre sequence. Again, the costuming work in this.
I want to just give a little clap to Michael Wilkinson's costume department. Oh my God. Some of the best I've seen. And with all the Imperial officers and different variants that we're seeing, a lot of us in the Star Wars 501st are really having a fun time checking this stuff out.
There's going to be so many Andor cosplays. It's going to be insane.
Yes.
And then lastly, I found this little piece of trivia, and I thought this is very interesting because, of course, we are introduced officially to K2SO coming into Andor in this block of episodes. But in an earlier version of Andor Season 2, K2SO was introduced tearing through a ship in a sequence reminiscent of both the Alien and Predator movie franchises. Instead, the final scripts incorporate Imperial KX units into the Gorman massacre sequence. I'm just going to say they made the right decision. This was phenomenal.
Just seeing them, like, it's not like they have to shoot anyone. They just pick people up and just toss them into walls. I mean, it was brutal.
Yeah, it was. But that's kind of wrap up the trivia side. But you know what, guys? We're not done with those kind of things yet because we still have some Easter eggs. We love our Easter eggs here at Culture Clash. And we've got some fun ones. Mr. Reitzel, you want to kick things off for us? Because I found this one a great tie into Rogue One.
Yeah, good find on this one, Kyle. The lab at Edu, or EADU, Yadu, Galen Erso, and the Project Stardust. The ISB Major Partagaz missions that while Krennic has the lab on Yadu working overtime, they have not found any alternatives beyond Calkite. Yadu is where the Galen Erso was taken by Krennic, forced to work on the Death Star project as seen in Rogue One.
Yeah, and the Rogue One ties are continuing in these 3 episodes because the U-Wing had its first appearance in Andor, and we kind of see where it's become Cassian's ship because Cassian now has his signature U-Wing in Andor Season 2, Episodes 7-9, the classic Rebellion ship that also made its debut in Rogue One. I've always liked the U-Wing. I think it's a pretty cool design of a ship. Kevin, I know you feel a little differently.
Nah, not a fan of the U-Wing. Sorry. What's funny is I found like not a busted up version, but like I found a toy version of it, like a Goodwill or something like that. And I'm like, oh, cool, Star Wars story. And look at it going, God, I hate these U-Wings. I'm not a fan of the design. I'm sorry. I never did.
All I'm going to say about this, Kevin, though, is I need some extra galaxy strength Dramamine if I'm going to be riding in any kind of ship that Cassian's flying.
Cassian, man, he's the guy that knows it all. You know, he knows about fighting and espionage, and he's a damn good pilot. So, yeah, but not a fan of the U-Wings.
Kevin, this next one, we didn't talk about it in the episode synopsis, but this was a pretty little interesting moment that happened at the end of Episode 9.
Melshi, Cassian's former cellmate, makes an appearance. It was real quick. Everyone remembers him, of course, from Rogue One. I think there's a Melshi cult out there that loves the Melshi.
I have a feeling we'll be seeing him in the next bunch of episodes, too.
Yeah, and it says, by the way, Andor cellmate on Narcana in Andor Season 1 and fellow soldier in Rogue One. Andor Season 2 finally shows Melshi on Yavin, having joined the rebellion, though it doesn't look like he's reunited with Cassian yet. I wonder if we'll see him if Melshi and Andor together in the final 3 episodes.
I gotta think they wouldn't have put him there if it wasn't going to happen. So
yeah,
I
gotta
think
a little foreshadowing.
Yeah. And Kevin, it's Star Wars, which means at some point we've got to get the Rebellion's finest. It's the Gold Squadron. The Gold Squadron took over escort duties for Mon Mothma, connecting to Rebels as well as Rogue One, having fought during the Battle of Scarif as well as the Battle of Yavin in A New Hope and Return of the Jedi's Battle of Endor.
Now, talk about a classic style Star Wars ship that I absolutely love. The Y-Wings. These were Gold Squadron. These are the ones that were designated to make the original trench run in the original Star Wars movie. And of course, they all got killed. But what I love about the Y-Wings, and the one thing that when I used to work for Decipher that made the Star Wars card game back in the mid 90s to early 2000s was the Y-Wings are great cards to play with because you could put 2 pilots in it. It was great. And they're also good for like bombing runs and stuff like that. They're just outside the X-Wing, which is one of the most iconic Star Wars. The Y-Wing is one of my favorites, man. Love the Y-Wing.
Absolutely. Now, Kevin, we would be remiss to wraps up our Easter eggs and trivia, but you know what? We need to talk about the cast and crew because everybody in the show is just nailing it. There is not anybody in Andor who is not putting in an amazing performance. You've got a great picture of the cast up here on the screen if you're watching on our YouTube channel. Kevin, I don't know what to say. This cast deserves some Emmys the next go around.
Well, Genevieve definitely, and I really hope that the power of people in the Emmys pay attention to this series, because Kyle Soller, who plays Cyril, Genevieve O'Reilly plays Mon, Denise Go is Dedra, Stellan. I mean, everyone is just killing it. God, who's the actress though that plays Stellan?
Assistant.
Yeah, what is her name? Forgetting it. If I have it here in the notes here. By the way, you guys I'm talking about. I love that she clashed a little bit with his character, Luthen, yes. And from going forward, wear your hair down. That looks awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was not complaining there. I gave a little love to Kyle Soller earlier. I got to say it again, Kevin. His performance in episode 8, one of the top Star Wars performances I've seen in a while.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's Star Wars, yet they're getting some of the most, and they're getting some of the best out of all of these actors. And I've seen a lot of these in other shows before. Even that like bald-headed, pointy-nosed ISB guy that was like trying to shut stuff down and find Mon Mothma. That guy was great. I love that guy. Is it Clea? Is that her name? Elizabeth
Clea, yeah.
Clea. She is fantastic. I feel like she could be like if she doesn't die in the next trilogy, I would love to see what she does, because I feel like she could really do a good arc for herself. Not to mention, I might be crushing on her a little bit.
Yeah, you and me both. The hair down was
Elizabeth Dulau. That's her name, Elizabeth Dulau.
I mean, she was looking good with the hair up, but the hair down, yeah, that's a whole new galaxy.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say it. Being a guy here, my wife would understand.
I'm single. I can get away with it. Thank you. But with that, guys, it's going to wrap up our trivia and cast discussion. But we got some hot topics to talk about, so let's get into our next section of Andor. Once again, guys, we are talking about Andor Season 2, the last batch of episodes 7, 8, and 9, and probably some of the most powerful episodes of Andor to date. And we've got some very particular topics we want to talk about here in this week that we're going to focus on. And Kevin, the first one we've got to talk about it right out of the gate is the Gorman massacre. And I pull little things. It was an absolute bloodbath. Found a little article with some things here that I want to read about though. Andor Season 2, Episode 8, which finally depicted the Gorman massacre, is one of the darkest moments in all of Star Wars. Tensions continue to escalate throughout the episode, with the people of Gorman chanting, "We are the Gore, the galaxy is watching," as the Imperials looked on. Eventually, this shifted into a Gorman song, which was hauntingly beautiful, and it's worth noting, undeniably more peaceful even than the chanting. And I will agree with you there. Sadly, it is during this song that the Empire strikes, shooting at the protesters. At that point, full-fledged fighting breaks out. Deaths are taking place on both sides. There's no question that the Empire is better armed, better trained, and considerably more bloodthirsty than the Gore in this fight. Throughout the scenes depicting the massacre, Imperial droids are shown picking protesters up and throwing them against the walls, onto the ground, and across the courtyard, killing them instantly. People of all ages are shown screaming, running for their lives, only to be gunned down. The exact death toll isn't given, though it's later said that hundreds of Gormans died during this attack, and that seems like a low estimate. But also during this, Kevin, one of the most poignant moments in Andor happens. During this event, that Cyril and Andor finally come face to face after years of Cyril hunting down Cassian, following him, killing 2 Imperial officers in Andor Season 1, Episode 1. This is a major moment for Cyril, though. But here's the thing. Cassian doesn't even recognize him, which
he's like, "Who are you?"
which gives Episode 8's title, "Who Are You?" even more meaning. In addition to the staggering and devastating loss of life, this event changed the galaxy forever. Kevin, we talked a little bit when we talked the episode, but the trap that the Empire set up for this and how they handle it, not just on a military strategic side, but with the media and the propaganda and everything. It was scary how much this has reflected things we've seen in our world recently and in the past. And as horrible as this scene is on just a humanitarian level, it is so powerful and so amazingly executed.
It's interesting. I was looking back at the episode, and if I remember correctly, first of all, I love the Imperial sniper, by the way.
Yeah.
Good, nice
Yeah.
touch.
Mhm.
He's the one that shoots one of the protesters first to get things going, right?
Mhm.
It reminded me
Not a
of-
protester. He shot one of the one of those Greenhorn Imperial guards they sent out to basically be Imperial cannon fodder to set this whole thing off.
That's right. Okay. Even better. But it reminded me of like what you learned from the Revolutionary War here in the colonies of this soon to be states back in the day in your U.S. history. You're not sure who shot first.
Shot heard around the world, or in this
Yeah.
case, shot heard around Gorman.
Yeah, and what was interesting though was that the show was done well enough to where there wasn't too much bloodshed like on the ground, but people's faces got bloody a little bit. As you can see this picture of Andor, with his fight after his fight with Cyril, and Cyril is like, and it was funny. It's like, and Andor's about to shoot Dedra, and then all of a sudden, Cyril shows up, not realizing what he's trying to do, but he recognizes, like, yo, and he's been trying to find him for so long, and he's just got this rage, and he's trying to kill him. And poor Andor is like, I just wanted to get my sniper shot off. Who are you? Just to put a little, humor side to it, though. But it was intense, man. God, and then poor Cyril, laser blast to the head. It's one way to go.
And really didn't see it coming either. I mean, it was out
Yeah.
of nowhere with that. But I mean, just this whole scene, because we know how important it is in the history of the rebellion and what it means for the galaxy. We knew it was going to be a hard watch in the aspect of just the crimes against humanity. And I think the way it was executed, it was powerful, and you saw that, but it wasn't so over the top. It turned you off of it too. And I know there were some people who were kind of concerned about that, especially after some of the things we saw in the first 3 episodes, and particularly the one event that happened with this. But I think they handled it as beautifully as they could. And what I really liked too was they showed the ramifications on all sides, not just this tragedy side of the Gorman, but you see how certain people, like how Dedra reacts at the end of the episode, and the tragedy of Cyril in a way where here is a man who has been obsessed over Cassian Andor, and Cassian doesn't even remember him. I mean, and what everything cost him, that shot of Cyril's mother at the end of the episode as well.
Now that's another question too. Is she crying because she found out about Cyril, or is she crying because she's afraid what might happen to Cyril because of what's happening there?
Yeah, I think she just knew, Kevin. Like I said, a mother knows. But as much as the Gorman massacre changed things and leads to the events of episode 9, it's our next topic, Kevin. Mon Mothma.
Oh, the speech.
Everything.
Oh, the speech. Oh, I like the speech.
I'm gonna ask you kind of control the slides for me a little bit here, because I got a few things I want to address here, Kevin.
Okay.
And I'm gonna do it, and I know it might take a minute, but I need to read the speech.
Take your time, bro. Take your time.
Fellow senators, friends, colleagues, allies, adversaries, I stand before you this morning with a heavy heart. I've spent my life in this chamber. I came here as a child, and I look around me now. I realize I have almost no memories that predate my arrival, and few moments of affection that cleave so tightly. Through these many years, I believe I have served my constituents honorably and upheld our code of conduct. This chamber is a cauldron of opinions. For example, we all had our patience and tempers tested in pursuit of our ideals. Disagree as we might, I am hopeful that those of you who know me will vouch for my credibility in the days to come. I stand this morning with a difficult message. I believe we are in crisis. The distance between what is said and what is known to be true has become an abyss. Of all the things at risk, the loss of an objective reality is perhaps the most dangerous. The death of truth is the ultimate victory of evil. When truth leaves us, when we let it slip away, when it is ripped from our hands, we become vulnerable to the appetite of whatever screams at us the loudest. This chamber's hold on the truth was finally lost on the Gorman Plaza. What took place yesterday, what happened yesterday on Gorman was unprovoked genocide. Yes, genocide. And that truth has been exiled from this chamber. And the monster screaming the loudest, the monster we helped create, the monster who will come for all of us soon enough, is Emperor Palpatine.
Oh, she called him out.
I name the Emperor himself for ordering the brutal attacks on the people of Gorman. Their peaceful world is one of countless systems helpless against his oppressive rule. This massacre is proof that our self-appointed emperor is little more than a lying executioner imposing his tyranny under the pretense of security. We cannot allow this evil to stand. Kevin, I'm sorry, one of the most powerful moments in Star Wars history.
Yeah. Oh, I got chills. I got chills watching that. I got some chills while you were reading that, dude.
I follow this up because Genevieve O'Reilly talked to StarWars.com and kind of gave some of her thoughts about Mon in this episode in particular. So I'm gonna read some of this too because
let me know if you need some help.
Yeah. The latest episodes of in Andor's second season focus on Mon's break with the Imperial Senate. Within the Senate, Mon is becoming lowlier, notes O'Reilly. She has few allies. Palpatine's power and grip on the Senate is undeniable. She is isolated and she's in danger. The rebellion as we move through the series is growing because we are becoming more successful. We also, like most things, become divided and fractured. With the fracture comes confusion, so nothing is as it seems. Genevieve goes on to say she speaks on behalf of all those people being murdered by the state. She implicitly understands the violence that is being perpetrated and performed, and that it will come to her, and that it will come to all those she knows and loves. Andor's focus on people's home lives, their heritage, their cultures, help to ground the words in Mon's speech. O'Reilly also says the details in those Gorman episodes, you feel like you've known this whole culture forever. I feel like I can talk to someone on the street about them, and so the loss of that allows for a depth or a weight that is carried and that makes sense. And so when the moment came for Mon Mothma to speak, it was vital for me that I was able to hold these civilizations forward and hold those people and that pain forward, and perhaps to give an understanding of who Mon Mothma is much later. And that was really my driving force for this whole season. And I think it's the way George Lucas set it up in the very first film, telling a political story through very personal relationships. Kevin, she hits on it so well. And you can tell how important this was to her.
Yeah, and when I was doing my rewatch too, and there's that Imperial spy woman that's with the other guy, and she's like, checking in with the ISB guy, and it's just like the back and forth was just so tense. It's such great intrigue, and Genevieve's portrayal as Mon Mothma has really given her a chance to outshine and kind of make Mon Mothma her own character. No disrespect to Caroline Blackstone, who was the original Mon Mothma, who in such a short amount of time was able to showcase the strength that this woman had. And now we see Mon Mothma, played by Genevieve, taking the ball and running with it. And we're seeing that with this. We're seeing it with her, just maneuvering with the discussions and everything. But man, that speech was just a banger.
I want to go on because Genevieve went on to a few other things that I think are a fun note. It's interesting because in the original script, Mon's speech was split up into different parts as the episode would cut from Mon to other characters while she was speaking. O'Reilly and the showrunner, along with episodic writer Dan Gilroy, agreed it was important for her to deliver a full, uninterrupted speech on camera. O'Reilly went on to say, and that came out of a generosity of a creative partnership that doesn't happen very often. I stood up and I gave the whole speech, and the whole speech now exists in peace, and that's very special. It's an understanding of how an actor likes to work, the generosity of taking the time to do that, a director's understanding, the actor who understands the writer. She also goes on to say, too, talking about after the speech and some of the things. She goes, I was just so thrilled that she got to run. I did think it made sense, and she wouldn't be good at it. She's not Vel. She's not in the field. She's a senator. She's a politician. So of course she's not going to pick up guns and start shooting people. But it was great to see her have to run and use her body. I think she exercises her whole cerebral cortex in the speech, and that's all that's left to run. So again, just what she did in this episode, Kevin, was just so phenomenal.
But was there some similarities to some animated episodes, Kyle?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you to dive into this, Kevin, because this wasn't the first time this speech got notoriety thanks to Star Wars Rebels, but this speech was a little bit different than what we saw in Rebels 2, Kevin. Would you care to kind of dive into that for me?
Wait, wasn't the speech different on Rebels? Yeah. So, however, Star Wars fans, let me note that the speech diverges somewhat from the canon that was established in the animated series Rebels in Season 3, Episode Secret Cargo. Mon makes a speech broadcast across the galaxy from within a ship as she is transported to Yavin by Gold Squadron. Andor creator Tony Gilroy explains that he and writer Dan Gilroy felt constrained by having to adhere to the speech he delivers there and weren't all that interested in parroting someone else's writing. Quote, "We are hijacking canon," Tony Gilroy admits. In canon, she's rescued by Gold Squadron, and the speech that they gave in the cartoon, which was a canonical show, is on the ship. And Danny's like, "Do I have to stick to this effing speech?" As it turns out, they figured out a way where he didn't have to, allowing them to eat their rebel cake and have it too. Cassian, Diego Luna, would rescue Mon from the Senate, evading Bale's corrupted squadron, and he would deliver her to a safe house. But she would remain there, awaiting Luthen's arranged transport with Gold Squadron, and she would make another speech broadcast to the entire galaxy, once safer, on her way to Yavin. Quote, "In a really sneaky way, we're minimizing what they all did in Star Wars Rebels, but we're keeping it consistent," Gilroy notes. Quote, we're just saying you don't really know the whole story of what happened." So there you go.
Yeah, I want to add on to that too, because Genevieve talked about this as well. Overall, I want Mon to get the full meal of a moment here. Tony came into my trailer and I said, "It's just extraordinary," she recounts. And he just sat there and went, "You want me to write the whole speech, don't you?" And I said, "Yes, please. I would love that. Write the whole speech." Within a day or two, he came with that whole speech, she continues. He gave it to me, the idea being that I would learn it and then they would just do those moments. Then I went to the director and the director was like, "Yeah, let's film the whole speech." It was such a huge thing to me to give that whole speech. It feels really special.
Yeah. Get her off the air. Get her off the air. I love that scene. That was great.
Rumor has it they're trying to get us off the air right now.
Yeah.
It might be for other reasons.
The ISB is coming around. Watch out.
Yeah. But Kevin, we haven't forgotten. You know, we have all this stuff here with Mon. We have the Gorman Massacre, but there was something else very important that happened in these episodes, because it is really bringing things to Rogue One, and it's bringing to, for a lot, their favorite character from Rogue One, K2SO, finally appears in Andor. Kevin, we want to help me out here because I got a few different things about K2SO here that we need to discuss.
K2SO is here. KX droid series unleashed for Imperial atrocities, a brutal common tactic. A squad of brutal KX series is deployed to continue killing more of the Gormans, trying to flee Palmo Square. This is not unlike when the Empire used KX droids during the equally tragic Purge of Mandalore. One last favor, the origins of K2SO. Cassian takes a damaged KX droid back with him to Yavin. This is revealing to be none other than Rogue One's K2SO, effectively rewriting the canon that was established in the tie-in comic series and how Andor and K2 first met. I don't remember what happened in there, but I'm fine with whatever they did here.
Yeah. And we have one little final piece of this, because at the end of the episode 9, K2SO joins the rebellion, but not exactly reprogrammed. Rather than Andor quickly reprogramming K2SO in the field when they first met, as established in the previously canonical Cassian and K2SO special, it is revealed in Andor Season 2, Episode 9, that an entire team of slicers was used to suppress the droid's basic and more murderous programming and impulses instead of a full and extensive reprogram. This better explains the droid's unique behavior and personality in Rogue One, and Kevin, I totally agree with what they did here.
I agree. Yeah, Cassian told me so. Yeah, that was cool. It was nice to see that little tie in there. What I do like in the scene when he sees the damaged K2SO droid or KX droid, because they rammed him into the wall and pretty much kind of cut him in half and shut him down. What I liked about that is the look in his eyes going, wait a minute, I've got an idea. We got to try this. It's so cool.
Okay, guys, that's going to kind of wrap up what our major plot points to cover here, but we got a few other things we want to address. Okay, Kevin. Any fun moments? I mean, these were dark episodes, but was there any fun moment or anything that might have stood out real quick?
I'm just going to revert to the wonderful car that Mon Mothma has. I need that car. I want that car. I hope it comes in a toy. I want to put Mon Mothma and Cassian in it. I just love that thing. It's again with the design, and also too another vehicle. Remember when the raw recruits first show up in the Gorman Plaza in that cool like troop transport kind of truck thing? It kind of almost reminded me of the famous if you're a G.I. Joe fan, Kyle, you remember the G.I. Joe troop transport? I forget what it was called.
The APC?
The APC. Kind of reminded me of that a little bit. I was getting some throwbacks, but that was a really cool vehicle. What about you? Did you have any fun moments in this?
Honestly, I think the fun moment was at the end of episode 9 with K2 reviving K2SO and just how paranoid everybody was. And
yeah, that's good. Because he has this like kind of like cute little voice and like, why am I here? And then you're hearing Alan Tudyk's voice. You're like, yes.
There we go. But guys, Kevin and I have been holding out because we knew Andor was going to get much heavier, and I have a bomb it from orbit take. And for those of you who might not be familiar, this is where Kevin and I have our real hot takes. The only way to be sure is to bomb it from orbit, just like Ellen Ripley suggested. And I have a very hot take for this. I've hinted at it. I've even mentioned it a couple of times. I think these 3 episodes of Andor might be outside of Star Wars itself coming out.
Hold on. You going to do the noise?
I'm going to do the noise after I give my
Okay, you're setting it up. I apologize.
I'm setting it up. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't taught him yet. Sorry, people. These 3 episodes of Andor, outside of the release of Star Wars itself, and maybe Luke, I Am Your Father, might be the most powerful and most important canon moments in Star Wars history. And I say that because of these episodes are showing, I think, the true moments that everything changed for the rebellion. To see Mon's speech, to have all of this told. I think the Andor series, when it's all said and done, no matter what happens, I think even with these final 3 episodes, is going to be considered one of the most important shows, movies, whatever, in the history of Star Wars canon. And I think not only because of that, because of what they've done here, how much this show is going to elevate Rogue One in importance, even more so. And what they have done with this show, whether it's been your favorite thing or you don't like the darker Star Wars style, or you're just completely into it because you've grown up with Star Wars and you're having something written more for adults and seeing kind of the darker side of war, because Star Wars is war. But these 3 episodes have moments in them that I think true Star Wars fans, no matter their age, whether they experience them now, whether they experience them when they're a little older, they're never going to forget, and they're always going to be a massively important part of Star Wars history, Kevin.
Did you hit the noise? Did you hit the
wait. I think the button's stuck. Hold on. Sorry, R2 was messing with the button again.
By the way, I have the episode playing in the background of those blue ISB tunics that they're wearing, the soldiers. I thought was great. I don't know if it's how hot takey it is, but I'm just going to say, going into an episode, Tony Gilroy going into his series, having the pull that he has, saying, look, we're going to do 12 episodes and we're going to do 3 episode arcs, and each arc is going to be about a year. That's the way it's going to work. I think this is some of the best formulaic television in presenting it in the way it is. and releasing 3 episodes at once, so it feels like a mini movie, is probably one of the best decisions any streaming or TV series has ever done in a long, long time. I've caught up to it. I like it, and I think it's awesome. I hope they do stuff like this again and tell stories where they jump a little bit, and see how stuff kind of goes. I love this. It's great.
On that note, Kevin, because I shared a little something on my Facebook page. I didn't put it on the other pages because it's not necessarily beneficial from anything I've heard, but I thought it was interesting that somebody put this out there. Apparently, Tony Gilroy has made a cut of the final 3 episodes of Andor that for a re-release of Rogue One in the theaters and making it a double feature of those final 3 episodes of Andor.
Don't tease me, Kyle. Oh, that'd be cool.
and just for that teasing, because Kevin needs one himself. I can't let my co-host feel left out, guys. Sorry.
That was awesome. Well said. That was good. Oh, okay. Man, that car is gorgeous. It's on the screen right now. Man.
Well, guys, that's going to wrap up our coverage of Andor for this week. But we got a couple other things we want to get into. So, guys, let's do a little buy it, stream it, or unsee it. Now, guys, buy it, stream it, or unsee it's going to be a little different this week because we've been was blown away by what we saw with Andor. Haven't really seen a whole lot of other things. I did watch the latest episode of The Last of Us. Again, we're going to be covering that more in depth once Andor finishes out. We've got some plans for that. But as always, buy it, stream it, and see it. Our good friends from Letterboxd. We love Letterboxd around here, Kevin. What's the number up to?
My number is up to, since January 1st, 2025, I'm up to 173 films. I wrapped up the Back to the Future trilogy because Back to the Future 3 is going to be showcased on Time Warp 1990 next month. And one of the classics of all time, my wife and I watched Dazed and Confused.
I have a feeling when she returns to the Culture Clash, the Queen of Movie Thews is going to be well over 200.
I know, right? Yeah.
She might be pushing 3. I don't know. We love Lacey around here.
Lacey, yeah.
But Kevin, before we get into something that you want to talk about here, there's a couple of things I want to drop real quick because we were so focused on Andor and there wasn't a lot of news, but a couple interesting trailers did drop today, Kevin, including something I know you've been very excited for, not only just because you love things with Immortals, but because it's, you host Blood of Kings, which covers all things Highlander and Immortal out there. And it's a sequel to a movie that you loved, and you've been waiting for this sequel for a very long time now. The Netflix finally dropped the first trailer for The Old Guard 2 with Charlize Theron, coming out July 2nd. Kevin, I know you're excited.
Yeah, we'll definitely give our takes on a future Culture Clash when we see it. But also, too, we're going to give an extended look into it on our Highlander Blood of Kings podcast, my co-host Lee, I'm sure, because we also love talking about Highlander and the Immortals in Highlander, but we also like talking about other movies that have Immortals in them and how they showcase, their aspect of how Immortals have been living. And if you haven't seen the first Old Guard with Charlize Theron, please check it out on Netflix and get ready for the release on July 2nd of Old Guard 2, which brings a very interesting actress into it. I can't wait. Uma Thurman comes to join the cast in Old Guard 2.
I'm going to say, who knew the bride was immortal?
Well, the bride knows how to use swords, so this is going to be interesting.
Now, there was one other trailer that dropped today for a TV show. And before I talk about this trailer, I have a question I need to ask you, Kevin.
What's that?
Do you really want to taste it?
I really, really, really want to taste it.
That is right. The trailer for season 2 of Peacemaker dropped today. And what has got everybody talking is Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, and I'm blanking on the actress's name, but she plays Hawkgirl in Superman, are in this trailer and going to be part of this show. And it
just to clarify, you said Hawkgirl, not Hawkgirl, right?
Yeah, well, both, but but the big thing about this too is it's kind of been leaked out too that there are things that are going to be happening in James Gunn's Superman that will have an effect on season 2 of Peacemaker. Kevin, we both love Peacemaker. It was so much fun. We love John Cena around here, even though he's done a heel turn in WWE, but that's a whole other thing. I cannot wait for season 2 of Peacemaker.
I love the fact that Peacemaker is a hair metal fan. I love that. Can't wait.
Kevin might be doing a whole special hair metal episode just on the music of Peacemaker.
Yeah, right? Jeez. God.
But, there's a certain thing that happens around here, and there's a certain movie series that affects Kevin, and it makes him want to suit up, per se. And I kind of dropped something on him that he kind of knew about, but he didn't realize it was out for purchase. Now, he hasn't watched it yet because he just bought it. But Kevin, we have Ballerina coming soon, but before that, you get a little documentary suit up for Wick, my friend.
Wick is Pain is the new documentary about the world of John Wick and how it came about. I was looking at the running time. Looks like it's about an hour and 20 minutes. And what's funny, Kyle, is I saw a trailer for it a day or two ago, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see this. And I can't wait to talk to Kyle about it. And I kind of forgot about it. And what's funny is I was in the middle of our 30-mile ride today, me and my wife, and we stopped to take a break, and I got your text that, did you know about this? And that you had a screenshot that it was on iTunes for sale. And while I was in the middle of my bike ride, I purchased on iTunes for $9.99. I think I actually have a picture of your screenshot here. Here you go. Wick is Pain. It is $9.99 on iTunes right now. I don't know if it's coming out on physical media yet. I did a search. I haven't found it yet. But make sure you check it out because I'm going to check it out. If you're a Wick fan, you need to see this. If you're not sure, watch the trailer on YouTube about this. And it'll give you a little insight of how this thing goes. And you're going to learn how a desperate housewife saved the John Wick franchise. I'm just going to leave it there.
I wish she would save me, but that's a whole other thing. Next week, the next episode of Culture Clash will have more traditional buy it, stream it, or see it. Andor just took over things this week, guys. But you know what? It was been an absolute pleasure to talk these 3 episodes of Andor, which I think are so important and have just had an impact on Star Wars in ways that we won't fully understand. Maybe not for a couple more years until we see what happens. But it's been a pleasure to that. And Kevin, would you kindly remind the people where else they can hear about things with Andor?
Please join our friends on the network, our What a Piece of Junk, a Star Wars podcast exclusively on the Fandom Podcast Network. They do a great job. They do a deeper dive into the episodes, so make sure you check them out.
Guys, too, at the beginning of the show, I talked about a brilliant young artist who is now working in tattoo. I just want to give her one more quick shout out, Kevin, if you do not mind. Brooke Yerger, you can find her on Instagram at BYerger Inc. She's a phenomenal young artist.
That's BYER. Wait, go back, Kyle. BYERGERINK on Instagram.
And you can find all the information about the shop she's working in, and just a quick screenshot again. I so love that Scott Pilgrim. It is phenomenal.
That's really cool.
That's what made me want to give her some love out here as well. But guys,
Kyle is due for a tattoo, guys. I just want to let you know he needs to get some ink.
Yeah, I have heard that from some other people here too.
Maybe this is where he gets his first ink. I'm just saying.
You just never know. But guys, we have been talking about season 2 of Andor. It's been phenomenal. Again, we got 3 more episodes left, and I can't wait. And I'm so curious to see.
Dropping May 13th. May 13th.
And Kevin is supposed to lead right into Rogue One. So I'm very curious about how much, like by minutes is what they're saying. So I'm really excited about this. But you have been watching and listening to Culture Clash here on the Fandom Podcast Network. If you've been watching on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us live. If you're watching it later, great too. We know a lot of you guys will come back and watch it after you've gotten a chance to see all the episodes of Andor. We appreciate it so much. Of course, this is the Fandom Podcast Network, where we're always trying to give you great podcasts to feed your ears. We've got a lot of fun stuff out there. Go check it out on all your major podcast catchers, and of course here on YouTube. Or you can just scan the QR code that's up on your screen right now to take you to our master feed of all of our audio podcasts on Podbean. We appreciate your guys' support so much, and we do this for you guys to try to give you a little entertainment and a break in your week. But you can find us a lot of places too, but not just by scanning QR codes on your podcast catchers, because we're all over social media, including Blue Sky, which of course you can find us at FanPod Network. You can find myself on Blue Sky at AKyleW. You can also find the Fandom Podcast Network on Facebook with all of our great groups. We're on X at FanPod Network. We're on Instagram at FanPod Network. I'm on Instagram and Threads at AKyle Fandom, and you can find me on X at AKyleW. Kevin, I'm saving you because you're at the same place with all the same name. You're one of those lucky ones.
Yeah, just to clarify, we're on Instagram at Fandom Podcast Network.
Yeah, you're right. I'm
on X, Instagram, Threads, Discord, Letterbox at Spartan_Phoenix, and on Blue Sky at Spartan Phoenix.
And of course, too, we love getting your support. Most importantly, we love seeing you guys in good threads. TeePublic, we have a Fandom Podcast Network store there where you can find all the great shows of the Fandom Podcast Networks with their logos, whether it's t-shirts, cups, hats. We do get a little kickback because, space fuel isn't cheap, and I promise you, Kevin doesn't sniff it. I really promise you that he's just this way normally. But guys, it has been a pleasure again. These episodes of Andor were just absolutely incredible. I cannot see how Tony Gilroy and the cast and crew of Andor are going to stick the landing. I have complete faith they're going to, Kevin. It's been a joy.
Yeah, and I'm really wondering if we're going to see some people fall. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I think I think you better have your Kleenex ready for the final 3 episodes. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to be great. But guys, thanks again for joining us. We're going to wrap things up here. Let you guys get back to the rest of your evening. As always, the most important things around here at the Fandom Podcast Network: respect each other, and even more importantly, no matter what it is, it's very important. Enjoy your fandom. We have done this thing, and we are out of here. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.